Hey guys, Antonio here. I'm the founder of Real Men, Real Style. Today I'm going to be talking about classic men's hats. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me for this for a long time, for years. And I had an opportunity recently. I was contacted by a woman named Satya Twina. She's out in New York City, and I really admire her story. So her and a cousin went in and they took over an old hat factory in New York that was basically going under. They laid off all the employees, and they used crowdfunding to raise money in order to buy back the factory, rehire everyone, and they really want to bring back hats. So I thought this was a great reason, a great example, a great time for me to kind of step in and say, what can I do to help? And one thing I think I can do is introduce my audience to hats. We can talk, and we're going to talk quickly about the why. We're going to talk what to look for, 5 things to look for when you're out there buying a hat, and I'm going to go over 9 styles today. Now, I'm not going to talk about unshaped hats like watch caps or, basically, like Ushankas. No, this is about hats that are quite a bit more stylish, something that maybe your grandfather would have worn, and I think you could still wear in the right situation. So let's go ahead and really quickly, I want to talk about 3 reasons why you should even consider wearing a classic men's hat. Number 1 is they're actually pretty functional. So if you go back and you think about when men wore hats like this, especially, it was very fashionable, so it was easy for us to wear it because everyone else was doing it. But they wore it primarily because it was functional, because it actually kept the rain, the wind, everything. It kept all of this. We'd go into a work area and they weren't always heated the way we live in a very comfortable world now, one in which you've got central heating, central air conditioning, all that stuff. Hats used to perform a much needed function of actually keeping you cool, helping keep you warm, and keeping the sun, all of the elements off of your face. So they were a very functional piece. Now, they were also, and they still are, very stylish if you know how to wear it and if you wear it with confidence. Again, back in the 40s, back in the 50s, back in the 60s, you could wear it and you'd look around, other men were wearing it, you felt safe. Nowadays, you've got to have the confidence to pull it off because most likely you're going to be the only man that you're going to see wearing a hat. But that's a good thing if you have the confidence and if you have the know-how, if you know that it's going to help your face look better, if it's going to help you stand out. Those are some great things if you have the courage to be able to do that. So number 3 is that there are certain meanings that a hat sends that are a bit subconscious. So have you ever wondered why military men, why police officers, why men in authority oftentimes are wearing hats? Because they send a signal of strength. So that's a great thing. Another thing is, why do they send off that signal of strength? If you get down to it, hats make you look taller. Any man wearing a hat gives a perception of added height. And what this does, think about it. Height is never a bad thing. Many of us know this. Many of us would like to look a little bit taller. So wearing a hat can add to that. So those are 3 reasons to consider wearing a hat. Now let's talk about 5 things you want to look for when you're out there buying. I'm going to create a separate article and video on this, so I'm going to touch over these really quickly. The first one is, let's look at the material. What is it made from? Is it made from straw? Is it made from felt? Now, felt, in case you're wondering, that's actually where they take a lot of basically wool and then they mat it down and they form a material from it, which is then shaped. They shape the hat with that. And there's other things, and I'll go into that into a later video. Now, the shape of the hat, I started to talk about that. So the shape of a classic hat is going to determine the style. We're going to talk about 9 styles, so I'm not going to go too much into this, but the shape. Number 3 is look at the size of the hat. Make sure it fits you. Wear a hat that's too big and it's just gonna look bad. Wear a hat that's too small, it's gonna look comical. Okay, number 4, the quality of the build. Was it made by a machine? Was it made by hand? Is this something you're going to pick up at Target for $12? Or is this something you're going to have handmade by, like that woman I was talking about, Satya? She makes all of hers by hand in New York City. So I think there's a huge range. I really recommend that if you are getting into this, that you work with a professional and that you start off that you're confident. Now, you can play around, and many of us have worn caps, for function, but I really advise looking at a quality hat if you're serious about bringing a classic piece. And the last thing is price. Now, why did I put price last? Well, because if you're really looking at a hat, I would rather you spend, you could spend $20 on something that you wear once and you don't like, or spend $120 on something that you love and that you wear hundreds of times. And then think about that. The one that you spent 20 bucks on cost you $20. The one that you spent $120 on, but you wore hundreds of times, cost you less than 50 cents a wear. Okay, guys, so let's dive into the styles. And to start this off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in a hat. And I want you guys to look at this. I don't know, maybe give me your opinion in the comments. What does this look like? Again, I don't wear hats very often, so I probably could tilt it to the side. But I'll give you guys a quick look at this right here. So I'm going to go over 9 styles. I would love for you to write in the comments what style you think this is. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So number 1, the fedora. Okay, so the fedora, this is what most people think about when they think of classic men's hats. It's an iconic style and really is, many people have said that anything with a brim and a fixed crown is a fedora. But for the purist, a fedora is a felt hat with pinched sides and a lengthwise crease down the crown. It gives the front of a roughly wedge-like shape, and it can be molded to the wearer's taste. So one of the most popular styles out there, gentlemen, the fedora. Okay, so let's then talk about the trilby. The trilby, it's a little more than a shortened angular fedora, and it used to be called the crumpled fedora, but that's kind of an old school term. Trilbies are typically worn with the brim snapped downward, in front and upward and back, adding to the impression of a narrowing angle at the back of the hat. Okay, so let's move now on to the Homburg. The Homburg, it's the fedora's dressier cousin. The Homburg is your best bet for a formal business look. It has the same creased crown, but without the pinches at the side, and the brim is stiffer and has a slightly upturned lip all the way around. All right, now let's move on to the pork pie. We're at number 4. A shorter style, a pork pie has a flattened top without a crease down the center. It is pinched at the sides like a fedora, and it creates a slightly triangular or wedge-shaped front. Now, the bowler or derby. This one's one of the easiest ones to recognize. It's basically, can be called the bowler or the derby. In pop culture, it's associated with a stuffy British icon, but its origins are actually working class. It's a stiff, rounded dome with crown with no creasing or pinching. Okay, now one of the most iconic hats out there, the Western hat, also called the cowboy hat. But the idea is we have a double crown and we have a much larger, high-crowned, wide-brimmed hat. And usually worn, I like lighter colors because it's more functional, although you see a lot of, I think it was the country western stars that brought in the darker colors. Okay. Next style, the Panama hat. Confusingly, this was actually started over in Ecuador, and they shipped them over to Panama for the workers, and they sold them there, and that's where it's picked up. So whenever they were digging the Panama Canal, supposedly this is where this hat made its name because it was a functional and protective hat. Next, let's talk about the boater. It's a flat-topped straw hat with a wide brim, and they're mostly a novelty item, but they are still considered appropriate attire when near the water. So rowing, regatta events, and barbershop quartets. They like the boater. And finally, let's talk about the top hat. Probably the one that I wouldn't really recommend you buy unless you're wearing white tie or morning dress, pretty common. But really, that's what it goes with, and it is the proper covering for your head with those types of outfits. Okay, guys, so I talked about the 9 styles. Again, I'll put this one quickly back on my head. What do you think? Do I look more authoritative? Do I look taller? Okay, guys, so I look forward to your comments. Try to guess what style hat this is. And one thing I do recommend, so I'm doing a whole series on hats. If you want to get all of this condensed into a single PDF and audio, I'm going to have a link I'm going to send to you to down below, and go to that. There's a little form you can fill out, and that form, what I'm going to ask and what I would like you to do is to send Satya a message. Send her a message that you support what she's doing. Go check out her hats. She owns the company. She recently bought Makin's hats, and go check out what they're doing. Support the company. It's a great American company. I really like what they're doing. So any support you can provide would appreciate. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.